Just a short introduction. I'm Stojan. I'm an agile coach, sort of, let's say, here at Paysafe. And I'm also, an agile ninja. At least that's what the sticker says. But let's not talk about me. That's not what we're here about. First, I would like to thank Paysafe, even though that's the company that I work for hosting and organizing this event. And I think such events should happen more often, and we as a community should be a lot more active in organizing and socializing and sharing our knowledge. We're here tonight. We have a special guest, and that's Arie from Bennekum. I really hope I kind of get it right.
98%. Very good. Very good.
That's good enough for me.
0.5.
Still good enough. And I don't think Arie needs any formal introduction, but at least a couple of words. So Arie is a co-author of the Agile Manifesto, and he's one of the leading coaches in the IT world. And he's been working for since quite before the Agile Manifesto, in an agile way, working to improve the organizational efficiency and how the organizations work. So, Arie has a lot of knowledge, and I'm really happy that he's here with us to share his knowledge. And I hope that we can really take a lot of this knowledge when we leave this room. So without further ado, here is Arie.
Yay, thank you. Okay, so we have two options tonight, right? One is you push the button, I start talking, and then after an hour I stop. The other one is you ask questions. We have a small room, so I suggest you can use the mic even if you like, we ask questions, okay? Is that a deal? Cool. Otherwise it gets boring. Oh, you have your beer. That's good. Right? Yeah, exactly. I have mine here. Yeah. Who of you is an cheers? Who of you is an agilist? Working agile, one way or the other, during the day, or whatever it means, right? Who of you read the Agile Manifesto? Good. Very good. If I ask this question, I always see people doing this, and I always think, okay, what does it mean? Did you read it? Maybe did you look at it at the screen from a distance, right? Who do you think agile is complex? Why? Why do you think agile is complex? Any idea? What makes you think it's complex?
Well, if it was simple, why would we need someone to explain it to us?
Okay. Well, now the point is, let me tell you a little bit, very not modest, a little bit about myself. I started my career in '85, working in the hospital. And after 2 years, I thought, no, that's not going to be the thing that I do the rest of my life. So I stopped. And in the Netherlands, if you stopped at that time, after your study, it was a bachelor degree, what I was doing in the hospital, then you had to go into the army to do a tour of duty. Right? So I got into the army, tools commander with the infantry, and the 16 months you're done. And I thought, okay, what's next? So I became a COBOL developer. Don't laugh at me. Who did that? Was it you? Okay, who of you has seen COBOL? Who you made COBOL? Yeah. Okay, so this is funny, because normally, in my country when people say, yeah, I know COBOL, they're old and grey guys. So I don't know what's the difference here. It's at least 20 years difference. Okay. But I started doing that, and after a couple of years I went to one of the bigger consultancy firms. When I came to the airport today, I saw the name Atos. You know this one? Yeah. Okay, so I went to Atos, and for Atos I started working on a big project at the National Tax Agency in the Netherlands. Who of you has ever worked for a national tax agency somewhere? Well, it's very courageous that you raise your hand, right?
Yeah. I will never question.
What do you think about the energy if you go to if you go to the National Tax Agency of the Netherlands, the energy and the dynamics in the organization, what do you think? Not much. Well, that's close. It's close. And you know, I started my career in the army. In the hospital, then in the army. And I think, you know, if you want something, the first thing that you need to realize is, if you want to change, there's only one thing who can make change in your life, and that's you, nobody else. Right? I like to say you're the architect of your own life. So if something's wrong in your life, don't blame someone else. Do something about it. Right? So I was at the National Tax Agency, and I was literally squeezed into a very small room with 2 other people, and we were called the technical design team. And I thought, after a while, you know, what does the word team mean? What's the characteristic of a team?
More than one person.
Well, it consists of
Together.
So a team consists of multiple people working on something together.
No, that's the word, isn't it? Together, right? You have a shared objective, you do something together. So I work with Peter and Arie, he's a big black beard like you, right? So we're sitting here, and you know, we talked about everything during the week. You know, kids, weekends, holidays, drinking beers. Never about work. And you know why? The room next to us, there were also 3 people. You can guess, it was the functional design team, 3 people. And I got work from one of them, and Peter and Arie got their work from one of them as well. And literally no conversation. And then I made, you know, I got a document, and I had to move it, you know, translate it into another document, another template, hand over my document to someone else. And I don't know about you, but normally if you go, at least, you know, I think it's very human, if you go into an organization, you have gray hair, right? So you know the story. You go into an organization, what happens is, you know, there's always, gray hair too, there's always the senior here, right? You come in, you don't know that much, you think, okay, here's a senior, I listen to him, or her. There are also women with gray hair, but they dye it, right? Okay, yeah. So the point is, you listen, but after a while you think, what the fuck am I doing here? You get confused because I'm getting a document, and I'm making another document, and I think this guy can read that document. So you know, in the morning, an hour and a half in the car, you work for 9 hours, the evening, an hour and 15 minutes back, slightly faster, and then you think, you know, if you open the car, what have I done today? Why are you waking up? Why are you going to work? To make money, obviously, right? But in my opinion, at the end of the day, I want to have something like, I achieved something. I did something. And I spent 4 months achieving 0. I made a document out of a document that nobody used. Interesting. So I thought, okay, this has to change. So I thought, okay, I'm the architect of my own life, now I have to do it differently. So it was, you know, it was like this moment for me. 10:15 in the morning, I got my keys. I went to the office of my Atos managers, and I said, this is who I am, and this is what I don't want to do anymore, and I have no clue what I want to do. And then one of them said to me, okay, I got a pilot with the Royal Navy, rapid application development. Who ever heard of rapid application development? Yeah, gray hair. I could tell always. But now the thing is, you know, rapid application said, you know, prototyping, business involvement, iterations, incremental delivery, workshops where everyone is equal. You know what the real fun part of being in the Navy or in the Army or any kind of, you know, forces is? We were sitting in workshops, and there was in the Netherlands a captain on sea, and captain on sea is one of the highest ranks we have. And next to him was sitting a corporal, and the captain on sea looked to his left, he said, Corporal, yes sir. Today we are equal. He said, yes sir. And it worked. It worked. So we had something like, hey, this is cool. You know, we sit together in a room and it works. So this is 1994. I would say this is where the experimenting started. And if you are an agilist, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, if you're an agilist, experimenting never stops again. Those people who say, I don't see why I should change because I worked like this for years, need to leave the office now. Because if you work the same way for a year, let alone years, it means you don't improve. It means you don't learn. You don't apply what's going on in the market, right? So, but that's things that, you know, start to come up with your brain. So it's 1994. Sorry?
How do you kick them out?
No, I don't like kicking people out. I like to motivate. Let's go to...
It's a technical term, don't get it.
Yeah, we can kill them, use physical violence or that kind of stuff, but normally I try to be friendly and keep them in, right? But we come into the transformation part, my PowerPoint's over there, so we come into the transformation part later on, and one thing you need to accept, any kind of change, not everyone will follow, period. And it's on you, if you're an agile coach, where do you put your energy? On those who want to change, or those who don't want to change. You have to think about it twice. But I got very active in the community, and 1994, 95, 6, 1997, I switched to the DSDM community, headquarters in the UK, and in 2001, close before Valentine's weekend, I got a call Thursday evening, 6:30, on my way home. We go home early in the Netherlands. On my way home, and a call from the UK, from headquarters. They say, "Hey Arie, would you like to represent us? Because we have a little conference in Salt Lake City. Would you?" I said, "Yeah, I think so. I have to check with my wife." At the time I was married. This is Thursday evening, right? Please make note in the calendar. Thursday evening, I asked my wife, "Is it okay?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." So I came home, I think it was Wednesday morning. I landed, Amsterdam airport, went to the university, did a lecture, went home. Then I got home. We had written an Agile manifesto. My house had half burned down, and my wife had decided to leave me. This is one weekend only. Now, if this kind of thing happens, you can, okay, now can I really make a dramatic change? Now can I really do something different? And I made the same choice again. Right? Leave where you are and do where you think that your heart is. That you think, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I feel really good about. Now, because a lot of Agilists here, if I ask, why do we do Agile? The question to you, why do we do Agile? Because you don't do Agile because the next door neighbor is doing Agile, right? You're doing Agile to achieve something. Why do we do Agile? Who wants to respond?
For me, for somebody who's very new to Agile, I thought that just to minimize work we're doing for our work, so we don't work to create a document.
Yeah, just stuff it up his face. Yeah, that's good.
I'm not going to be...
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is that you focus on delivering actual stuff that matters and don't do, like you said, templates, documents, stuff like this.
It's one of the principles in the manifesto. We say maximizing the work not done.
Yeah.
And delivering value. That doesn't mean that you sit on your ass, but it means that you deliver value and you are efficient, right? That's really what we try to do. What are other reasons too? So efficiency as well. Now, efficiency helps you to achieve something. What are we looking for if we're doing Agile? As an organization, as a company-wide. I expect at least 50, instant answers because you're all Agilists. So I got the answer. This is why we do it. Efficiency. What's the other one?
Money.
Transparency. Sorry?
Money.
Money. That's a good thing. Now let's look into the money thing because it's interesting when you talk about money. But how does it help you to get money? Sorry?
Creates instant value. I mean, faster.
That's a word that I like also, right? Because for money, because I do this for almost 25 years now, and people might say, why should I do this? Why? Maybe I'm making money. I'm the number one. Last year that someone said, I'm the number one. Telco somewhere. Fast. Now why faster? Can you explain why faster?
To survive.
100%. But why survival? Why survival?
Capitalism.
Sorry?
Capitalism.
Capitalism. Yeah. Also, is an idea. Yeah.
Because we are. Agile is an adjective at first, right?
Yeah, I like the word survival a lot, and the point is, yeah, sure.
Because we're in a hostile environment.
That sounds dramatically, right? We're in a hostile environment. But it's true. In a certain way, it's true. When I started doing this in the mid-90s, it was like, okay, if you do a project, we call it still projects then, right? If you do a project, 6 months, that's the max, because after 6 months, the world's going to change that much. You have so many changes in the work that you do, you have to deliver before that. Okay, so that's good. That sounds nice. But now, if you look what happened, I was a couple of weeks ago. I was in Brussels, a big telco, and I mean 14,000 people. So I perceive that as a big company, right? And I was talking to a gentleman from the board, and I said to him, I said, you know, 1994, you were making money with selling phone call minutes, right? In 2004, you were making money by text messages. In 2014, you were making money by selling internet access. 2024, you don't know. And he looked me in the eye and said, Arie, 2020, I have no clue. That's a year and 2 months from now. Right? Now, why is that? Because now we come to the hostility part. Maybe not hostile, but why? What's happening in the world where we are today?
We don't live in a static environment, everything constantly changes. So you have to adapt, otherwise you're just going to die.
Yeah, I think you're right in general, because I think situation is never stable and static. But the way that technology and innovation go hand in hand these days is in such a pace. The biggest telcos in the Netherlands, the three big ones, in 2000, I think it was 2008 in the autumn, WhatsApp was introduced to the market. Who of you is using WhatsApp? Not that much here, right? In the Netherlands, you have 99% or more of the people is using WhatsApp. So they were in 3 months only, from making a whole lot of money, so far down, because this was the national telco, they were on the news, the national newspapers, the radio, the television, because they were in 3 months on the edge of bankruptcy, because they lost their income, instantly. 3 months only. Now the point is, this kind of companies, you know, thousands of people, they have trend watchers, they have researchers, they have developed the smartest people in the country working there. Now how come they are not able to respond to that change? Because
complacency.
Sorry?
Complacency.
Yeah?
Because it's a big telco, and these guys, as much as I like to believe to what you said that they are the smartest, you know, big companies have their downsides. And
yeah, the big companies.
they weren't, even though they were smart guys, I don't put it in doubt. I still think they wasn't motivated enough to actually foresee. Because I believe the rise of chat programs was already there. I don't know why they couldn't see it.
It was, they must have had people that went to Silicon Valley, you know, to those
I
conferences,
believe so,
and
yeah.
must have seen it, right? So this is where I say, you know, with agility, is coming back to agility again, what you want to do is you want to deliver better business value earlier with a better internal quality. Because if it doesn't give you the right functionality, hey, the competition will. And the competition is from all, you have no clue where competition is coming from, which part of the world. You simply don't know. Right? And because technology facilitates everyone. And then you say, okay, you know, better business value earlier, because hey, if you're late, don't worry. You know, competition will be on time. This example, WhatsApp, telcos, you know who invented the digital camera?
Kodak.
Yeah, Kodak. You know what Kodak is really famous from? You know, the film rolls from the past. Kodak's gone, right? So how come? And this is why I say, because we talk always about agile is, you know, software. Agile is the corporate capability to respond to change and to deliver better business value earlier to the market with a better internal quality. If I'm sitting on airports, and I can tell you, I spend a lot of time on airports, and I want to buy something, I go online, I search, you know, the first page of Google, I try to find something, I go in, I start filling the basket, and the moment that I want to pay or fill the basket, something is going wrong, swipe next. You don't, first time right? So things are changing. So in general, I think you can say that with Agile you want to have better business value earlier. I cannot say you want to be predictable and without any kind of delay. I think delay is killing us. Who delivered recently projects on time, or MPPs or whatever, without any kind of delay? Be proud. You don't know, but you're one of two who raised his hand in this room, right? Okay. So this is what's happening, and I think for Agile, you need to be fast, but also predictable, right? That's why you want to do it. That's the most important one. And it's because competition, but it's also because business models. So internally, you have to change the way things work. And now coming back to big organizations, because it's not necessarily big organizations, But the problem is, in big organizations we have bureaucracy. And we have silos, right? We have the king of analysis, and we have the emperor of design, and we have the queen of testing, right? And you can't pass the gate unless you talk to me and I approve. And I don't know, who of you is doing really in the agile way of working? Who of you that is working agile way, really at the end of the sprint delivering into production? You know, potentially shippable product. Oh, there was just 2, now we're up to 6. Okay, we're growing now, right? Can you see what's happening? You see, like, 40 people saying, hey, I'm an agilist, and we only 6 people saying, at the end of a sprint, we are ready for production. The point is, if you go into your sprint and then we have another, this is what people say to me. Yeah, then, after delivery, we have a sprint for test, and then we do a sprint for Q&A, and then we do a sprint for user acceptance, and so on.
You didn't get it, did you? What did
Everything continuously. Yeah. I spoke to a couple of guys recently, and they said, "Hey, Arie, what we do is, we make this is really pure software production, right? I said, okay, what we do is we have everything automated, and if a requirement is done, you just bring it into the test environment, and within 20 minutes it's either in production or I have it back. Sometimes you can't bring it operational because with branching you have to see what the right date is, but still, right? But a lot of people are far from it. Big banks are all trying, about big organizations with a lot of history and bureaucracy. That's the difficult part. Now, what is agile really about? This is not to be boring or an exam, but what if you walk into an agile working organization? What do we see?
People.
Happy people. Some people might debate on that.
Achieving more raises motivation.
Yeah,
see motivated people.
Sorry, where was the? Oh, sorry. First here, where does the happiness come from? Do you know? Because it's true. But why?
Satisfaction with your everyday work.
This is, if you want to see a nice video, you go to YouTube and you check this gentleman. He's called Daniel Pink. And if you type his name and you do RSA, now what you get is one of those whiteboards, armed with a marker, voiceover from Daniel Pink, and he talks about human motivation. And some of you must know, what are the human motivators? If not about pure physical labor, but if you use your brain, what are the human motivators?
Getting better.
Here, I hear getting better. So what he says is, he calls it mastery, right? That's one. What more are motivators?
Being independent.
Sorry?
Being independent.
Appreciated.
Creativity. Self-expression.
Autonomy? Sorry? Fear. The other one he talks about is purpose. And now coming back to your point about happiness, if you have truly agile work, what you do is you have, one of the things in agile working is you go away from individual tasks to team delivery. We have agile teams at Humanity, we have 450 people. I don't care who does what, as long as they deliver. And if they have a problem delivering and they think they need me, they can ask me and I can help them. But I don't care who does what, right? That's the self-organizing part. It's not self-steering, but it's self-organizing. You have a load of work, how you do it, up to you. So there you go, the autonomy. What do we do in Agile for mastery? Very simple. Yeah, retro, right? Retro. The point is, as an organization, as a management, what you need to do is, you need to make sure that the improvements that are detected during a retro are really there, in the next sprint and implemented. Because if you do a retro and people don't get the improvement, then the next time they don't do a retro anymore, right? So autonomy, mastery, and the purpose, the value that you're looking for. If you set for an MVP the value that you're really looking for, people get there, right? So happiness is true. Happy people. But what if you walk in and you see the daily process, the work of the people going on? What is it that you see?
Speed and results.
Sorry?
Speed and results.
So I walk in and I see a speedy result passing by. Now what do I see? I walk into a team space. What do I see?
Sticky notes.
Sorry?
Sticky notes.
So you see, I call them information radiators.
Yes.
Yeah. And why do we do information radiators? We use information radiators because instead of writing endless documents, up and down, we just, while we are working during the day, we update, information on the wall, and that's what we call documentation, right? It doesn't have to be word. But how do we produce those visuals, those information radiators?
Conversation.
Yeah, what kind of conversation? Dailies, retros, demos, heartbeats, poker sessions. So Agile in the core is very simple. It's an interaction concept. So what you take out, because I'm talking and you're making interpretations of my words, right? You know what the problem is with interpretations? They're always wrong. Yeah, they're always so sorry. They're always wrong. You might be close. Now the point is, if I'm your client and we're talking, you make assumptions and interpretations as well, but you can check. You know what happens if you do that written, remote, and written? So Agile is moving away from remote and written communication to face-to-face. Because if you ask me a question via email, I send you, so I make interpretations of your question, right? Then I give you an answer, you read my answer, you make interpretation of my answer. So that's the second interpretation and a very simple communication. It takes already a couple of hours because you send an email, maybe you have to wait a while before I see it, I was in the toilet, in a meeting, whatever. So it takes a while, then I send it back, then you're in the toilet or having a meeting or whatever. It takes a day, it takes a week. Yeah, we're often in the toilet, sorry. So the point is, what happens is it's taking time, and you build one misunderstanding up on the other misunderstanding. So Agile is being face-to-face. That daily, you do it for a reason. The retros, the heartbeats, the demos. Right? So Agile is, I like to call those the rituals, the Agile rituals, ceremonies, whatever word that you want to use. So you walk in, you see the information radiators with the post-its, or maybe, representing architecture or data models or story maps, I don't care. But you see very compact, actual information in a team space. And if you, are present in the day, with a team or multiple teams, you can see them going through their rituals, right? That's what you see if you work there. So that's why I say Agile is so simple. Agile is basically about talking. Now, sorry?
So in such case, what about the distributed teams and the people who try to do Agile with distributed teams nowadays?
Okay. So I have to be very honest. When I started doing this in 1994, I had distributed teams in the Netherlands. That was just 175 kilometers, but I can tell you it's enough, right, to create this problem. The point is, between then and now, the tooling in terms of internet, flat screens, Hangout, Zoom, Skype, whatever you want, this is so good. So, to give an answer to your question, I worked in an Agile factory where we had teams working, and you could see people, in front of the wall with a big flat screen, having a daily. So there were two flat screens. One, they could see the rest of the team, could be, from the Netherlands to Romania, for example. The other screen is there, instead of that you have, post-its, it's a digital one, the Jira or Linkit, Kanban or whatever. They do the daily, like you do them always. And after the daily, they go to their desk, they have two screens. One, they see their mate. The other one, they put on their Skype set, and they start pair programming, right? It works. It works, but you have to do it. That's the point. And that's the thing. I think, if you want to write down one of the success factors in Agile, is the quality and the discipline that you apply if you do the Agile rituals. Don't tell anyone. Switch the recorder off, okay? At least put the sound on mute when you put it on the web. So we have a marketing, don't let them hear it, but we have a marketing team in Humanity. Not to make it personal, 3 ladies. And they said, yeah, we work Agile. Oh, that's cool. I said, yeah, we have a daily, every morning we have a daily. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we have a daily of 30 minutes. Interesting. So I said, okay, what is the daily all about? Because the daily is for me about, what have you achieved yesterday? What are you going to achieve today? Do you have an impediment? If you don't have an impediment, it takes you approximately 25 seconds. So I would like to know, what do you do the other 28.5 minutes? I think you're producing waste. So, to avoid producing waste, because those dailies where you have 7, 8 people, 2 people get into conversation on impediment, and the rest is waiting. So you lose people from the daily. What happens if you lose people from the daily? What happens?
You lose people from the team.
Yeah, and you get delay. And you want to avoid delay. Now, why do you get delay?
Information hasn't spread quickly enough.
Yeah, and especially on the type of information. Who of you has children at high school? I shouldn't ask this here, right? It's so young. Who of you had children in high school? I see some gray hair. Come on, be honest. Okay. Then maybe in the future you will have children at high school. I don't know. Let me tell you how it worked in my case. I have two boys, 22, 26, right? And I'm divorced in 2001. They were 5 and 9, right? So Thursday the boys would come to Papa. Papa would cook dinner, 3 of us at the table, and we have serious conversations, right? So the boys were getting older, and it was high school time. And in the Netherlands, the exams are end of May, early June, like 3 to 4 weeks. Is that the same here? Something similar. So I thought, I want to be ahead of, the problems. So in January, one Thursday evening in January, the boys come home and said, hey, guys, in May we have exams. How are you doing? We're fine, Dad. Yeah, those who are laughing now did the same thing to their parents, right? Yep. Okay. So what happened is that I thought, I'm very happy as a father to hear that my boys are doing awesome. But let me double check. You never know, right? So it was February again. One Thursday, I said, guys, listen. In May we have the exams. How will you do? We find that. Okay. Well, you get a rhythm, right? March, boys. Oh, we find we're cool. And then in April I forgot because all 3 of us had birthdays. And then it was the second week of May. What do you guess? Panic. That's what happens, right? What happens is, they call it the student syndrome. It's an official phrase. But what happens, I call it the human syndrome. You get a task, you want to do it. And you know someone is around the corner who can help you out. But you want to do it. Oh man, I want to solve this one. Come on, okay, I can do it. I try again. So what you do with the daily is you minimize the window of the student syndrome to 1 working day. That's why you do it. So but hey, if you do it every day, please keep it very short, simple and effective. Don't make it into a tea party or something, right? So the quality and the discipline of the rituals is essential. Now you think, okay, that's cool. We can train that. That's not the problem. We have agile coaches. We can train this. Now how come that really agile working in terms of earlier delivery, with a better internal quality, the better value, how come it doesn't work? Why? Some of you must know. You bumped into it. Mike over there.
People can't see their contribution to the product.
People can't see the contribution to the product.
It's not working.
Yeah, I don't know if we're on the same page. Cheers, by the way. I don't know if we're on the same page, but okay, this is what we often see, right? Even in so-called agile environments. So what happens is this. So we do sort of analysis, and then we do a sort of development, and then we have test, and then sometimes we have a QA, and then we have user acceptance, and then we have an operational check, and then we go live. Right? That's what we want to do. And the point is, in this, if you work in a specific process and you have always the same activity at the end, user acceptance test, for example, what will happen to that activity? Sorry? Yeah, the point is, what you do is you make an estimate. How much can I do? And you set the timeline. And in the waterfall, we made an estimate for like 6 months or for a year, but even in Agile, in 2 weeks, and then at the end we do the testing. The kind of people where you see a burn down chart doing this, right? Okay, so the point is, if you have a working process where you really have the same activity always at the end, and you made an estimate problem, what will happen is that activity is under pressure, always. So I was talking to a QA manager, and she was responsible for like 65 to 70 testers, And in an interview, she said to me, you know, Arie, in terms of work, the pressure from the business was so high we went live without testing. This is not a joke. This is a quote. So you can, if you work on the service desk, what will happen, right? You know, first line support. So the point is, you know, if you work like this, even if you do it in sprints, you keep the same problem. So you really have to change the mindset. So it's the mindset instead of having, because here we have people making something, and here we have people checking something if it is okay. It's us and them. And I will check you if you did it right. But what you need to do is you need to really change the process and say, okay, listen, instead of doing this, you know, sequential flow where you have the steps, you know, one after the other from an analysis, etc., like this, QA. So no, what I do is I have a timeline, and I have all those disciplines, I have them together. And if you deliver something, so in a time of maybe 2 weeks, you can have 4 or 5 of those little, you know, 30-minute short feedback loops. There are really nice books about, you know, fast feedback pays off, that kind of stuff. But then instead of saying, you know, you're checking what we do, if we start here, and you're from the QA department, then you're the developer, together we make something, and you develop it, and you make sure it's according to the QA standards. And then, instead of waiting till the end and check, you are involved from the beginning. That's changing really the way we are working. And now it gets really nasty, because people don't like to change. They like you to change, but they don't like to change themselves, right? And that's a big problem. You know, the biggest problem in agile transformation, because, you know, Arie, in the past I would say we do an agile implementation. That doesn't work. You don't implement agile. You have to transform. Why? The transformation means you're going to do different things in a different way. And where you have the agile rituals on top that are, you know, sort of simple, you know, daily, retro, demo, all stakeholder meetings, I call them heartbeats, very simple. But underneath, if you do it like this, if you are from, what did I say, QA, if you are from QA, on behalf of that department, if you are from the legal department, on behalf of that department, you must have the authority to say, this is good, or to say, no, you need to adapt this a little because it's not according to the standards or whatever. And then, and only then, if I'm at the end of my sprint, I really have everything checked. Who of you does the demo at the end of the sprint as an acceptance meeting? I hope everyone is honest now. What is the problem with an acceptance meeting?
It's too late.
Time is limited.
Too much feedback.
Too much feedback? Sorry?
Time is limited.
Time is limited. You know what the biggest problem is with an acceptance meeting?
Somebody
Too late.
can say no.
Exactly, that's the thing. Someone might not accept. Damn. So you start on Monday, Friday next week, you have an acceptance demo, and someone says no. You know how we call that? Delay. We don't want delay.
Do we need then sprints? Why we need sprints? Why is not sprint is just a waterfall? Just
Yeah.
2 weeks waterfall.
Yeah, that's what people make out of it. If you do it like that, you do testing at the end, then you have just mini waterfall. That's all you do.
Yeah.
And this is the paradigm shift, because in the mini waterfall or in the big waterfall, what happens is that you have people checking other people's work. And here in a shared responsibility, every couple of days we look at what have you made. Quickly look at it. If it's not good, you know, from the functionality side, because you're the business, you expect something else, or you have a new idea, or better idea, or whatever, or there was a misinterpretation, can happen. But you're from the legal department, you can say, okay, if you write it like this, you know, the text on an app or the text, that's not, you know, according to the law. So you have to, okay, now we know. And instead of finding these kind of things at the end, where I create delay, I build them in. And I'm so happy because I've been doing this for really from the beginning to you know, build this kind of acceptance. And I think it was January last year that Mike Cohn, who's also one of the authors of the Agile Manifesto, and he's from the Scrum side. He said on LinkedIn publication, you build acceptance in your sprint because of close collaboration. The demo is not an acceptance meeting. And not because it's magic, but because you want to avoid delay. Very simple, right? Very simple. Okay, so The biggest problem is not the agile rituals, but the underlying, what I call paradigms, decision-making processes in an organization. Because you're from the operations department, but can you accept on behalf of the operations department, or do you have to go back and forth to your department all the time to check if it's okay like this? So the point is, we need to really mandate people and empower people on behalf of it to be in that process that I just described. That's the big thing. The other one is documentation. Somehow we think documentation is MS Word. And I don't mind MS Word, I use it myself sometimes. But I think documentation is accurate and up-to-date information, easy to access and maintainable. That doesn't say MS Word. So can we find another way of documentation that's helping us in the team to work faster, more efficient, and to avoid delay?
Well, if it's a MS Word document SharePoint, which is accessed by anyone.
Yeah, I know. You know what I like so much, if you use, because we talked about the post-its, information radiators, I call them. You know what I like so much about them? They're on the wall. So you don't have to dig in some server in the cloud somewhere to get information, potentially having the risk that you pick the wrong one also. And maybe SharePoint helps you, but you never know. It's over there. And if you want to know, you just look, it's in front of you. You call it push information instead of pull information. Right? It's fast, it's accurate. So you and I are pair programming. And we run into think, hey, we can do it like this, but if you do it like this, it's better, faster, and maybe more sustainable, whatever our motivation is. But it's not totally according to the guidelines of the architecture department. So let's see if we can change it. So you and I go to the architect that's here on the wall. You have a lot of flip charts, and we represent the architecture. Then the two of you are pairing as well. We just get you here. The four of us in the team, we decide on how we do it. The moment we walk back to our working place, we know. If you sit at your work desk, you think, what was it like? It's there. I don't have to dig into a cloud server somewhere. It's there. And that's what information radiators do. Why do we have those, he's gone. The plan boards with the post-its. If I see a plan board, a proper plan board that's really well done, I can see from 15 meters how the team is doing. If you do it properly. And if you update your burn down chart. This is why coming back to quality and discipline of the agile rituals. Yeah, I don't believe in the burn down. Okay, so you want to write a progress report, 6 pages. If you do it daily, and you update your plan board, you update your burn down, and if you like your burn up, while you are doing the daily, you walk out of the daily, and the actual information is there. You don't have to write the report. If the geographical distributed client or manager says, what is the status of your progress? Click, 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 send, here it is. Oh, hold on, I have my camera here. So let's WhatsApp video, then you can see. Or fiber video, whatever you use. Okay, see, this is fast. You have to do things for a reason. But there's so many excuses, not to do things. One of the things that we have, if you talk about agile working, is end-to-end delivery. So in the sprint, in the 2-week sprint, we do everything. From the QA and the development and the design, and we make the test scripts, and right, we do everything. CI/CD, everything that needs to be done. This means a change of profiles in people. I think it's still in a lot of places developed. When I was doing my last waterfall project in the mid-90s, I think it was like ops, and then it was test, and I think then it was development, and then it was technical development, functional design, and information analyst. This was not only the way of working, the process that we followed, but it was also your career path, right? And you knew, okay, now I'm here, and it takes at least 3 years to get there, and it takes at least 3 years to get there. Point is, if someone is here, he will not do development or test anymore, because that's below my standards, right? I have my status here, and my lease car, and my bonus, and my targets, so I don't do development anymore. The point is, if I'm in this sprint, and someone is struggling here with a bit of development, he can't get through, and I am there, and I know how I could solve it. Why shouldn't I help? But that means that instead of working in a silo like analysis or design or whatever, is that you get into a T-shape, where it really serves the end-to-end delivery in the sprint. That's a different thing. As a profile, you know, for a professional, things change. But we all know that we have a manager here, and there's also, you know, there's another silo. We have a manager here, and there's another silo, and they're all managers here. If you make an organization drawing, here we have the, you know, the board or whatever you call it. Here we have people who do the, you know, the real work, the workforce. And this is the middle management. You know how I call the middle management? The permafrost. No, sorry guys. And you know why? And it's for a good reason. You know why? They want to keep their position. They have a mortgage, they have kids that go to university, they have the big car, they want to keep it, right? Really, those things happen. So if you go into agile transformation, you have to understand that you rock the cradle. You cannot do a transformation and keep the organization the same. It doesn't work. So if you do agile transformations, maybe in Bulgaria it's not really that important, but if you go to the west of Europe, you're at the table with the unions. I'm talking to a bank at the moment. They are already in sort of agile transformation for 2.5 years. It's like 3-4 weeks ago that one of the managers said to me, "Yo, no, Arie, we want to have the profile of the agile coach. We want to have it, you know, in the company, but we are waiting for approval of the union." This is how it works, right? So, but you change profiles in, and this is the thing. Now, how do you get it? Because you don't want to lose people, because those people here are very often long in the company, very knowledgeable. They know a lot about the company, about the services, about the products, about the clients. You don't want to lose them. So what do? I learned, if I go into transformation with a client, you know, with coaches, you go in, you work with teams. So we're going to do the dailies and the retros and the heartbeats and the demos, and we have the information radiators on the wall, really working nice. And when we leave, it takes 3 to 12 months and everything is lost. They use all the agile words, but they work in the old school way. Why do you think this happens? It took me a while to figure out. Why do you think this happens? It's the same bloody paradigms again. And the point is, a paradigm defines your reflex under stress. And if you go through transformation with an external coach, what happens is this. It's more or less like getting a driver's license, you know? So you take your classes, and at one moment in time you learn how to drive, and then you get into practice, and at one moment in time you go to your exam. In the Netherlands we like to say the moment you got your driver's license, that's the moment where you learn how to drive. Because until then it was very, but who of you remembers the first time when you had your driver's license, you got it in, you get behind the wheel, and you go into a major, very busy city with a car? Who remembers? Yeah. How did it feel? Awesome! Totally wet, sweaty, panicking. You know why? Every single motion that you make in the car, you have to think about it. And then you think about it, you think, oh, did I forget anyone? So your wheel, and you know where to go, and your mirrors, and the signs, and the traffic lights. Oh, is that a police? You have to think. After 5 years having the driver's license, it's automatically. That's where it has become your paradigm, how to drive a car. When you have just a driver's license, it's not yet a paradigm. It's the same thing with agile working. It doesn't, I can teach you, I can talk about you for two hours, or 2 days, or 2 weeks, how to do agile, but it doesn't change your paradigm. I can work with you for 3 or 6 months, but it didn't change your paradigms. Paradigms defines reflexes under stress. And I see it in big retros where you have like 10 teams together, or 50, 60 people, and at the end of a 2-hour retro, very, very happy facilitator stands on a chair and says, ladies and gentlemen, we have, for sprints now, we have real trouble with development. We have the solution. We're going to make a more detailed design. I think, okay, you didn't get it. But this is what paradigms do. So, if you go into a transformation process, especially for those of you who are agile coaches, you have to go through a process of changing the paradigms, understanding that if you really want to stay with the teams to change the paradigm for the full process, it takes you easily a year. We don't want to do that. So first of all, if we go into the client side, we very quickly train people from the client to become internal agile coaches. And from day one, they're going to coach with us. So 6 to 12 months later, we're out, and they take over to sustain the change, because this is the biggest problem. Okay, question. Not a complicated one, even if you don't sport. Right? So let's say we play volleyball. You know, green field, net, white ball. Know it? Yes. Not that one, right? Okay, so Friday 5. Okay, this is Bulgaria. Friday 7 o'clock, you leave the office. Right? And then it's 5. And already half the company is gone. But okay, so you leave the office and you say, hey, listen, Monday morning, we're going to play football. Because there's a green field, net, white ball, we're going to play football. If you keep the field as a volleyball field, if you keep the net as a volleyball net, what do you think people will do on Monday?
They'll play volleyball. Very
simple. They play volleyball. Right? That's what happens. So the first thing that you need to do, and I always call it synchronize. Synchronize. You need to align. You need to train people, and you can say you change the environment, or if you like the rules of the game. If you like to stay in the sport metaphor, it's very simple. This is where you say, okay, usually, I don't know what a volleyball field is like, 20 by 10 or something, whatever. From now on, it's 55 by 110 meters. That's what it is. And we have 2 nets instead of 1, and we have 11 people from each team instead of 6. New rules of the game. And if you're an agile coach, people say, I want to change. The daily, I'm very busy. Thursday, I'm back for the daily. No, you drag people in by their hair, even if they don't have it. Right? You make sure they can. Some people don't have that much anymore, right? So first of all, and we take, this is for us 4 weeks. So 2 times 2 weeks. So you have to imagine this, every coach of us can take 30 people approximately, so let's say 3, 4, 5 teams maybe. And the first thing that you do the first couple of days in this phase of 4 weeks, training. And not training as I sit down and tell you what it is. Do agile work, do the agile rituals, build your serious gaming, that kind of stuff. You're going to work in an agile way. Everything that we talked about, your dailies, retros, demos, heartbeats, user feedback, all stakeholder meetings, everything. You're going to do that. So after a period of 4, this is 2 sprints obviously, but after 4 weeks, people now understand, okay, these are the rules of the game. I like to make the metaphor, or I like to picture it on my youngest son is now 22, but when he was 7 or 6, he was going to the football club, and I was his trainer, obviously. Right? And you start, so new boys come into the club, 6, 7 years old. They have to learn what it's like, how do you throw in the ball? What's the keeper? If you're an attack, if you're defense, if offside. They need to learn how it is, how it works. Very simple. But after a while, they're going to get that. And then you come to the next thing, team tactics. And you can make it very heavy, very solid. But the thing here is from environment, now we make it a little bit smaller, we go into the team. We call that follow. Because for us it means that the teams follow our coaches, and the coaches are sort of in a directive style, because the success factor of Agile is quality and discipline of the rituals to do them well. And then I also can see, our coaches can see, okay, how are people working in this? How is it working in the room? What does it mean if I all of a sudden have, I have a user story and I have definition of done with 9 tasks, and I'm expected to do at least 4 or 5 different tasks, to be able to do those because I'm now multidisciplined. How does it work? Pair programming, how does it work? How does it work to be sit, side by side and make code together? How does it work? Team. Now people are coming from a silo profile, they're going into a multidiscipline, the T-shaped profile, and they're going to taste flavors of what can I do? But there's also a moment that you think, okay, now this person, needs to find his way, because you might like, I'll do a little bit of extra development, CI/CD. I think you're CI/CD, right? What? Do you like it, CI/CD? Yeah, because I'm totally atechnical. I always admire people who can do that kind of stuff. And this is what it is. You need each other. You don't need people on teams that every person can do everything. But as a team, you need to have multiple people to deliver a single task. Because if you drop out, then someone else can step in. That's the model, right? So we call this lead. Also 4 weeks again. So we're now on 8, 4 weeks again, 12. And this is where we help as coaches, we help people to find, okay, what do you like? One of the big changes, if you look into HR, is that instead of squeezing people in a standard profile in the company, where you have to do something maybe you don't even like to make a promotion, at least I've seen it happening, is now we develop you on your talents. Hey, we have a definition of done, whole list of tasks to do. What would you like to do? What do you need as a next step? Because right now you're a tester, I don't know, you're a tester, right? Just as an example. Okay, I would like to get into development, or I would like to get into whatever you want to do. And then you get your trainings and you get your coaching from the coach to get into this. You don't have to be perfect right away. It's about setting the scene to get this happen, and to help people in the change process. Because I was talking about the permafrost, but it's for everyone. You go into change. Things change. And those people that are really close to development might have the least change, maybe. I don't know, but everyone is going through change. So now I've done almost 3 months with a team working, and this is the moment where our coaches say, okay, now we take the next teams. So this is preparation for the next one. We take the next teams into this, we call it a wave. But the people here just got their driver's license. So what happens is something goes wrong. They step back, they step back into the old things they know. You can't blame them. And this is why as a coach, you stay sharp. This is why as an internal coach, so I'm like you stay side by side with them. You say, hey, hold on. What you do is, like the example I gave, you go back into making a more detailed technical design. That's exactly what's not helping you in having better business value earlier to the market with a better internal quality. Now, within the Agile values and principles, what can we do instead of doing this, innovating backward, then we innovate forward? You don't have to be perfect if you go into transformation right away. Bollocks, of course not. But you have to. Winston Churchill, never met him by the way, don't get me wrong, but he has a really nice phrase. He said, perfection is not a state. It's an ambition. And it's an ambition that requires continuous change. So continuous change means that you're on your way to success. So those people who like to stay the same are hindering you, your team, or your company to get to success. Right? That's the thing. Change is a success factor. I don't want to quote Darwin, but here's something similar. The ones that most adaptive to change are the ones that survive. Not the smartest or the strongest, the ones most adaptive to change, right? Except crocodiles. Yeah. Well, your point is, you need to have a reason for change. Right? And why didn't the crocodile change? You don't want to fight with a crocodile, right? So there's no competition. And it's the little reptile brain of the crocodile that's in your brain as well, and in your brain and in my brain, that keeps us from changing. Right? So if I go into client, sometimes I go into organizations, yeah, we don't need that job. Really, don't tell anyone. A couple of weeks, I was at ESA, European Space Agency. They invite me to do a paid session, on Agile. And after 3 minutes, says someone, yeah, we don't need this. I said, oh, that's cool. Now, first, why did you ask me here if you don't need it? Second, it's a fast conclusion after 3 minutes, isn't it? Now, I'm very happy to leave because I have a free morning. It's at the shore. I can go to the beach. Tell me what you like. Right, I'm out. But this is the kind of... That wasn't a reptile, by the way. This was just a lucky mouse that sort of survived over the last 650 million years. But the point is, if people don't feel an urge, if organizations don't feel an urge for change, we're the number one. So I had a big telco say, hey Arie, we're the number one. Why should we become Agile? I said, well, to stay the number one, maybe. Yeah. But if you don't feel the pain, change is really above all difficult, right? So you're totally right with the crocodile, by the way. Damn. Yeah. Go on.
Okay, so but there are organizations or situations where the things are like very highly regulated or where mistakes make people die. How this goes to Agile? Goes with like something related to defibrillator, you cannot make it like in so many iterations.
I want to give you two stories. The second one is without a name because it's a client of us. And last Saturday we had a big knowledge share, and they said we cannot spread anything about this. So I will tell you the story without any names. Okay. The first story is 1998, and I'm working at that moment in time in a bank, not a big bank, but one of the rich business banks. And we didn't call it Agile because the manifesto wasn't there yet, but we did DSDM, Agile Project Management Framework, we should say these days. And there was a gentleman who was a tester, and he was from a testing company, external from a testing company. So we're sitting in one of those heartbeat sessions, and he was really like angry. If you want to do this in a bank, I wish you a lot of success. It's not going to work. They're going broke, bankrupt. Every fucking bank in the country, in the world, is going Agile at the moment. Okay, so there's a way, obviously, somewhere. Pharmacy, extremely regulated. And I'm talking about a company that explained to us, listen, this is how it works. We are doing innovations. The innovations, one moment in time, after years, you can bring it to the market, a medication. Then you have the patent for 10 years, and then it stops, and people can start copying you. So I innovate, then I can use it for 10 years to make money, but in those 10 years I have to innovate to another product, otherwise I'm out of business. And they said we make our money with 5 products. 5! This in a certain type of disease, the biggest manufacturer and innovator in the world. And they started doing Agile. They know this problem. You know, but what you do is you can take regulations into things like definition of done and definition of ready. And they're not perfect at the moment. They're still doing what I would call quite a bits pieces of waterfall in there. But they're going to make remote and written, multidiscipline teams, decision making. But for example, at certain moments in this process, they need to make documents. And the documents are not for internal use. They're going external to the European Union, to those agencies. Yeah, thank you very much, to those authorities. Yeah. So I was last week in Munich, where we published together a manifesto on Agile working in manufacturing of what they call in Germany complex systems. And what they mean with complex systems, for example, how to build a submarine, Agile. And you and I know that once you order some things, it's very difficult to change them because it's physical. There's a lot of hardware in there, etc. But it's more, okay, how can we do it instead? Oh, it's not going to work. The things also, for example, building submarines, or that talked also about one of those huge telescopes. The technology in those kind of complex systems is changing also faster than ever. So if you stick to an original design and deliver it 10 years later, the risk that you deliver something that is outdated is becoming bigger. I heard a story in the Netherlands of a government, government with European, the tender process, that kind of thing. So what happens is you make a design, because above a certain amount you have to do this European tender process. So they make a design. Making a design takes 5 months. Then they bring it out into the market, request for proposal. Takes the whole process of RFP. If you're extremely fast, it's 4 months. Most of the time it's 6. So we're now almost a year down the line. Now we start the project. And then they're 6 to 9 months in the project, and now we get to delivery of the hardware that was in the original design. The hardware is not available anymore on the market. This was in a little bit over a year and a half. So you have to find a way to go around that process. You have to find a way. And I don't have the answer for everything, but I do know that a lot of people. I was in Munich last week. Osram, you know, from the lights. They developed new lights for specific lights for cars in an agile way. There was Magura. They make bicycles. So
They make brakes.
brakes. Okay, they were also involved in, because I saw a lot of bicycles on screen. Sorry, and they were doing those as well. And that's also very hardware related. Things like, you know, by legal things or whatever authority regulated. Yeah, you have to just take it in, see how can I bring it in. And at this pharmacy client of us, they're on their way. In my opinion, they can improve a lot still, but they're on the way. And the mindset, so the paradigm shift is in the process now. And that's going. So instead of saying, okay, it doesn't work, they say, okay, how can we make it work? And I think that's the way to go. Because simply, you know, keep on working in the old waterfall way. Yeah, you cannot do everything with agile, right? Sometimes you need to do waterfall. No, waterfall sucks, period. Because waterfall means, and you can disagree with me if you like. But waterfall means, you know, if you go through this process, that we have different professional groups delivering the work. We hand over documents. We do remote and written communication. We freeze here. If we have change, we have to go up the waterfall and do a very complicated change. If you go through the forest and from behind a tree there is a bear, are you going to file a request for change? It doesn't work. And these days it's the way it works. It goes so fast, if you're late, someone else will be on time. So this kind of remote and written communication where you go up, it's like a cha-cha-cha, right? You write something, you freeze, you change, you have to go back, and there we go again, and all in all, here we go, the cha-cha-cha goes further down the waterfall. But it's always delay on delay on delay on delay. And that's the thing you can't afford anymore. So this is the thing. So going back to, why do you do agile? Because you want a better business value earlier, right? That's right, with a better internal quality. And also, you know, a lot of business models change. We see the digital transformation, right? That's what we talk about. And if you have digital products and services, you know that your products and services are having a shorter life cycle than ever because technology changes all the time, right? So you need to be adaptive, because if you're not adaptive, competition will be. Nokia lost, Kodak lost. You know what the funny thing is? I'll give you an example. In 2001, when we wrote the manifesto, I worked for a company of 700 people. And I think, you know, maybe 5 didn't have, but the rest would have a Nokia. Who of you ever had a Nokia in the past? See, who still has a Nokia? You're a hero. You talked about crocodiles, right? I just want to... No, joking. No, but the point is, I think still, you know, at that time, the Nokia was absolutely awesome. This is 2001. What was the best thing about, not Snake, but what was the best thing about the Nokias? Sorry?
Simply indestructible.
That was the point, wasn't it? We made a test. We had a cafe in the office, and we took a glass of cola, put it in, took it out, disassembled it, rinsed it under the water, put it on the heating, wait for 2 hours, assembled it again. We could make calls for 3 more days. That was Nokia. You could, you know, throw it on the floor. Now, throw it on the floor is maybe a bit, but they're really like solid. And the battery. Yeah. The joke on Facebook, you know, in 2,000 years we're going to dig up the rubble of the society, and in there will be a Nokia with the battery still on 50%. Awesome. This is the times, ladies and gentlemen, that Sunday morning from 10 to 12 you would charge your phone and you could make calls for the rest of the week. Right? Nokia also. Where did Nokia lose it?
Innovation.
Yeah. What was the real thing that they missed? Because yeah, but what specific thing that you know, what specific?
The operating system was closed. Symbian.
Yeah, so the couple of things. So it is the switch from the cell phones to the smartphones, right? This is where it went wrong. And they had a closed operating system. And I always thought they didn't have smartphones that really were proper working. They did. But they kept them, they had them on the shelf, but they didn't deliver to the market because they didn't want to cannibalize on their own product. No worry, BlackBerry did. 2, 3 years, gone. And what was famous about the BlackBerry in that time?
Keyboard.
Email.
It was for business.
I thought, yeah, but I thought the trackball in the middle was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
You know, instead of going left, right, and the trackball was really brilliant. And then BlackBerry, where did BlackBerry lose it?
Touchscreen.
Yeah, touchscreen. And I think there was even at one moment in time a BlackBerry with a trackball and a touchscreen. Oh, come on. Are you so in love with yourself? What's going on? Right? This is where you lose. So agile, being able to respond to change, is a corporate capability. Because if you have an IT department that's ultra fast, and marketing and sales and the service desk are not up to speed, forget it. You don't get your business value earlier to the market, right? So this is why we do agile. Agile isn't a holy thing. It's not a dogma. It's just building together the capability to respond to change and deliver fast, high quality value products, period. And how you call it, I don't care. But that's what you focus on. How do you do it? By cutting out a lot of remote and written communication because it doesn't work. And then focusing as a team on team delivery instead of, I did my individual design. That's what you do. You focus, you deliver together, right? So that's really important because you want to be predictable. So if I can't fix it, you help me, so we fix it together. Stop starting and start finishing, that kind of stuff. To be able to do that, you need to change the paradigms. And that's the most difficult because you're being in front of a board, it's easy. But really, you know, working agile to achieve that kind of results, you have to change paradigms, you have to change your organization. And then you have to go through a process of paradigm shift, which is not an easy one, and it takes time. ING in the Netherlands, I think in the world of fintech, are leading as an example in agile transformation. And they still have, you know, dozens of coaches running around. You know when they started the agile transformation? In 2012. And they had a very visionary manager, Ron Verkemenade, in 2007, where he said, okay, we need to change something here, we need to do differently. And in 2012, he was able to kick off the real agile transformation. They're still working on it. There's always improvement. Paradigms need to change. Right? So you have to go to a paradigm shift process. And then you always, you know, especially internal agile coaches, but also together, you know, you have to make sure that you don't fall back into all the old patterns. Because what we're trying to find is security, and security has never been there. There's always been change, but now it's going so fast. You know, you have to accept that you sometimes don't know. And in development, you explore, and you get new requirements in. Great. Let's see. If they fail you, we do it. If not, we don't. But that's something that you don't do easily. I want to give you one last thing, just to give you an idea. Who knows more than 2 agile methods? So agile method 1 is? Scrum. 1. You say, I know more. Which one do you know?
Lean.
Lean.
XP.
Sorry?
XP.
Yeah, XP.
Kanban.
Kanban.
That's the wrong.
Okay, so we know when we wrote the manifesto, I like to make this drawing, right? So let's say this is the agile umbrella, because sometimes people say, yeah, we use the agile method. Doesn't exist. Agile is not a method. We use the agile methodology. In the Netherlands, methodology means the science of methods. So I don't know what that means. You know, agile is just a concept, right? And when we wrote the manifesto, all of us were already for a while working consciously in a different way. Because we said, okay, the way it's working in the waterfall, it's not what I want, it's not delivering, I do it differently. So there were some people that were doing a large group, like I had projects like 20 to 80 people working, so all those parallel teams, you know, small teams, people focusing on teams, like for example, you know, Scrum, you know, the agile team, 7, 8, 9 people, 6, 4, 5, whatever. And you have people focusing on individual and pairs. And there were people focusing on quality and efficiency and value. And for example, you know, my own, let's say, personal focus was here. This was, because this was sort of okay in the way I work, but my focus is get out, you know, all this redundant work and make sure that we have really a happy client. This is why I talk with my client. In my heartbeats, I have my client, not the product owner, a client. The product owner makes sure that I have the right people from the client in those heartbeats all over again. Because Agile is information at the source. Because if I put someone in between the source and the one who's using the information, then we have just an extra set of misunderstandings, assumptions, and interpretations, which cause delay. I don't want delay, right? And then you get, because I was very happy to hear extreme programming, team and efficiency is very much Scrum, for example. A large group value was at the time DSDM, still is by the way. For example, here, you have here your Kanban all over the place. You can do large scale, big scale. You have Save and Less, and I think Crystal, and I would say that Adaptive is here. Lean, right? My point is, there's so many Agile methods, and every method has practices. And the practices are the ones, especially if you're an Agile coach, the practices are one that you do. For example, the dailies from Extreme Programming, Scrum, and DSDM. They all have a daily. Good. So that's a practice that you use. And for me, the methods are centers of innovation. So you go to a conference and you hear this Kanban guy or the Safe girl or whatever, hey, this is a lesson learned that I take. And as a coach, as a team, as an organization, you cherry pick from the Agile practices that help you the most. And as long as you stay within the values and the principles, you get those benefits. That's what you're looking for. And if you invent some practice that there's no one ever described before and it's really helping you, awesome, you just invented the next one. Write a book about it. Maybe you become a millionaire, you never know. Right? And one thing that I really like, invent, innovate. And don't let anyone say that it's wrong what you do. A true Agilist will always listen to someone else. Because if you have your experience and I listen to you, I might learn something from you. And I should never ignore an opportunity for learning. So if people say it's not true, then you know they're not an Agilist. Because it's your story. Right? And your best practice should be respected. There's a lot of things going on in the Agile world. Failure, experimenting should be part of what we do. And maybe that's something to close my talk, and let's do Q&A if you like. But please believe me, in those kind of things, the only one holding you back is you. Culture is an empty word, it's filled up by people and habits. So the good news is, they can change it as well. And you're one of those people, right? So you're the architect of your own life, right? Thank you. So the moments I take a drink, you cut out those in the video, right? Otherwise, it comes.
Can we go on with the question?
Yeah, sure.
Can we go back to the pie chart of the transformation with the different number of weeks?
With the cycle, the way?
Yes.
This one?
Yeah. Is it unfinished or it's meant to be like this with the last quarter empty?
Yeah, this. Oh, yeah. You want to know what's happening here, right?
Yeah. I have a question associated with the first part, but I just want to.
Yeah, just ask. Yeah.
Because earlier we were running a Scrum clinic, and there were a lot of questions around setting up a new team, and also issues with not so new team, but still. Agile, and specifically Scrum, there's a lot of, people say you shouldn't go with the direct and command. So we try to get away from that. However, at the beginning, at the first stage, in the first 4 weeks, or even at the first 8 weeks, as far as I understood, you were kind of suggesting that at least when we let them know the new playing field, there's no self-organizing around that. You just say, this is the new field and this is how it's played. Scrum is here and Scrum is here to stay. Can I hear it, and a lot of other people in the audience hear it once and for all, that at least at the beginning, a harder approach and a hard hand is needed, or you can disprove me, I don't know what's true. But I just really want to hear it from the source.
Yes.
Is it the way to go?
Yes.
Go hard
at
the beginning? Yeah.
And there's a mix between directive coaching and doing command and control. But if you are here and we are in front of a board, I will not say to you, and this is the ticket that you have to take. But I say, okay, now you have to take a ticket from the board. Because this is the way it works.
I'm talking about people coming to meetings, I'm talking about people cooperating in meetings, talking in the meetings, listening.
Yeah, good facilitation is essential because not everyone is as talkative. Some people ramble on, some people are very silent. And if you have them in one of those sessions, everyone has a contribution. So you need to make sure that you drag out the information they have. Yeah. The thing I would like to say about teams and being directive in leadership style, are you familiar with Mr. Tuckman? Forming, storming, norming, and performing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So if you do forming, storming, norming, and performing, right? If we talk about self-organizing teams, I want to tell you a story. 1988, the Netherlands was European champion football. Point is, this was the ultimate performing team. And not just the 11, right? But the trainers, the, how do you call it, the extra players, the reserve? Yeah, right? Everyone was like a team. Marco van Basten at that time was a hero already. And Rinus Michelsson was a very strong coach. Took him with him, on the bench. And he had a decision to make. Am I going to be too proud and stay home? Do I accept being on the bench? He turned out of massive value because he scored brilliant goals. But what he did, he overcame his personal pride, and for the sake of the team and the team results, he said, I'm coming. That was the ultimate team. At the end of the championship, Rinus Michels, the coach, said, I'm leaving. And then the Dutch Football Association made the biggest mistake ever. Because they said to the team, now you can choose your own trainer. They gave him two options, Johan Cruyff and Thijs Liebrechts, I think. The point is, if people are in the forming phase in a new team, you get a job. You have to be, left-wing attack, or you have to be a designer, or you have to, you know what it means in words. But in this particular team, you don't know. You don't know the team space. You don't even know where the toilet is, where to park your car, how to get into the building, that kind of thing. So a lot of your thinking is around other things than doing the job. As a trainer, as a coach, as a scrum master, it's your job to make sure that people start on, okay, you're doing the right thing, you did this, very good, so you're going to be very on top, step by step, helping them to make a choice, to take steps, and confirmation if they do right. And you do it in the storming, because this is where people are looking at themselves. This is the storming phase, because people say, okay, now I know my job, but hey, if as a team we want to deliver, it also means that your performance is here. Now I can do my job, but can you do yours? So this is where the storming comes from, because people challenge what other people do. This is where you have this very directive coaching, strong, we emphasize the group results, individual results, group results, but you need to be strong and on top. Here you can go more into the facilitative mode. And here comes, if you change the team, you always go back to square one. This is where the Dutch Football Association made a massive error, massive. But also most teams, because managers, they change teams all the time. Those managers, they assemble a team for a project or an MVP or whatever you call it. They get an estimate and a planning. They don't make it, they get it, and the managers expect miracles. And then it doesn't work. Wow, what a surprise. That's not even management, it's bullshit bingo. It is really absolute valueless. So you need to understand those kind of models. And if a team is helped by clarification, what needs to be done? Okay, then you can decide what to do. But what needs to be done, where, and you have to keep as a coach your teams stable. Because otherwise you go back to the same thing.
Thank you. I'll stand off my shoulders.
Good.
What do we do with the middle level men?
A very good question. Very good question. Now, first of all, if you go from a traditional organization into an agile organization, because you rely on the self-organizing capacity of people, there is less command. There is almost no command and control, if you like. So there's less capacity needed to do so. So less. But as I said, the people, those people in the organization, they know a lot about the organization. There's a huge, massive amount of knowledge. So what we do, if we go to so you have multidisciplinary people, but you have also areas for innovation and for deep knowledge development. So you might build, in this organization with multidisciplinary people, you might build a community of people who like CI/CD, or people who like automated testing, or people who like, whatever they like. Right? And very often you can see those people going in that areas leading those kind of communities because they have a very deep SME value, subject matter expert value. But you need less, there's less capacity needed on that side. And so very often you see people either going back in these kind of roles, so going back into delivery, but leading also the communities, or you see people now leaving to other countries.
Thank you.
Well, since beer is warming up and pizza's cooling down, maybe we can take this conversation.
Yeah, we have a break of 15 minutes and then we do another hour and a half. Gotcha. Okay, maybe are there still questions? I'm also happy to do them on the side, but maybe one or two last questions here. And otherwise we come to